So I was playing these remasters, as you can see by my photo mode escapades, right? And I reckon it's time to give this all a final conclusion. Roughly speaking, if you have played the remasters of the first 3 Tomb Raider games, then you already know what to expect. That's right, the exact same treatment. If you liked Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, you will absolutely love the visuals it got this time. It's the same deal with Tomb Raider Chronicles. While Egypt landscapes could get boring over 20-something hours of playing, I think that remastering the Chronicles levels brought several cubic meters of fresh air into the visuals, which is great. Since I was talking about all of the games in their respective video clips, I'm not going to delve into the details about their stories, levels and so on, because I would be repeating myself. I'll try to concentrate on what these remasters bring to the table. Like I said before, as soon as you start the game, you'll be greeted with the menu screens that are now scrolling horizontally. For the Last Revelation logo, they opted for this red-yellow gradient one, instead of this sand-colored one. Also, the font of the menu is different, but this time the pixels are gone, which is nice. The same has been done with the Chronicles too. Now we have this exact same shaped logo like in the Last Revelation, but this one is in flames while the old PS1 version had sand-colored treatment. I know that Fire one looks a bit flamboyant, but I don't know. I kinda miss the old logo. Well, it doesn't matter to be honest. At least we can see these gorgeous visuals that we will never see in the games in any form of level. Too bad, because they looked intriguing before, but now with ramped up visuals they look even better. But guess what? If I was having the PlayStation 5 version instead of Steam One, I would get the logos that I'm apparently crying about. Look, so I guess I bought the wrong version of the game. Just kidding. Enough about that. Let's play the games. Let's talk about the games in order in which they were released. So the first one is, naturally, The Last Revelation. Immediately when you start your Cambodia extravaganza with Old Man Von Croy, you will recognize how good these cutscenes look when their faces look updated. Since they can open their mouth while talking, there's no more that unnatural head nodding present that plagues previous games. But playing this tutorial level can be a chore because Von Croy can interrupt our every try to do more than 3 feet walk with his boring, slightly sarcastic infused monologues. However, there's a solution. We can actually skip the cutscenes now. Finally. Now this level can become much shorter than you think it really is, because The Last Revelation is set in Egypt the entire time. The game itself was full of great visuals even back then, so it was interesting to see how the game would look with remastered treatment. It's safe to say that it looks awesome. Everywhere you look, you'll see the walls full of striking-looking murals and paintings, nicely done hieroglyphs, and vibrant colors to match the newfound atmosphere. Sometimes, just a slight graphic tweak can work wonders like in the levels such as Desert Railroad. With new visuals, dust and background images of mountains, it looks totally different. Check out the first encounter with coastal ruins. This weird-looking black void is replaced with an actual sea and houses which in return make the whole scene more epic. However, that background image is fixed, so looking at the sea with still waves is kind of stupid when you compare it to the moving 3D water effect of the actual level. I'm sure the background one could be animated. That would make the appearance of the level even perfect. So, visuals are at their best when you run around the Temple of Karnak, Great Hippo-style Hall, the Lost Library, or when you are scaling this Great Pyramid. Just look at these scenic pictures. What about Cleopatra's palaces? Such a nice level to explore. However, you can notice that most of the levels are a bit darker than when you play them in their original visual form. It's understandable that when you dwell in the tombs, that they usually won't be bright places to be, but sometimes it's just ridiculous. There's no amount of fiddling with the brightness that will do the magic here. It's like experiencing the PS1 version of Tomb Raider 3 all over again with playing the game in total darkness and using flares more often than you'd like to admit. Incorrect gamma? Could be, but I guess I'll live. Compensation in the vein of gorgeous visuals is fine by me. Besides better visuals, there's also a selection of nice little details that the original visuals do not have. For example, dwelling in the caves or some tombs will grant you some spider webs. Sometimes there's going to be something altered, like a better looking hole in Valley of the Kings. Tarpaulin on this wagon is brought to life and it moves in the wind. Looks very realistic, I must say. Some windows in Alexandria have curtains. Some doors in the Cairo section are full 3D models, showing a bit of an indoor section that you can't enter naturally. But it's a nice touch. While playing, I've come across a few bugs that I haven't experienced in the original PlayStation 1 version of The Last Revelation. For example, for some unknown reason, this enemy decided to hang up there. As you can see, only his legs are shown. I guess it's time to put him out of his misery. While walking around City of the Dead, Lara's left hand decided that it doesn't feel like cooperating. She can suddenly climb everything one-handed, but holding weapons is normal. I can't be sure what triggered the disobedience of the hand, but I've managed to make it working again. This all is nothing spectacular or game-breaking, but it's something worth mentioning if there's gonna be a patch fix in the preparation in the future. Oh wow, how I forgot that this game can be such a slog at times, especially with Cairo and some parts of the Giza levels. While Tomb Raider Chronicles is a very short game, The Last Revelations feels like you can squeeze 2 Tomb Raider Chronicles games in it, and you'd still have some extra space for the DLC levels or something. Some people don't mind it, but I do. Even though I still remember most of it, so my playthrough itself is faster this time. There's no denying that The Last Revelation is overstaying its welcome, especially with branching multi-level design that allows for traversing back and forth, which in return makes certain parts of the game hard to navigate. I've read that some of the players would like that. There's no loadings between sections. So, for example, Coastal Ruins would be one big level with Catacombs, Temple of Poseidon and Pharos levels seamlessly interconnected. Well, today's tech could make that happen, but in reality that would require too much of the reworking of the original game. It would almost feel like a remake, not a remaster. What else is there worth mentioning? Oh yes, now it's possible to unlock FPS in so-called retro mode. If for some reason you fancy playing the game with the old visuals and your eyes are strained because of a lackluster FPS, now it's possible to have a smoother experience. But still, in the places with an abundance of details, FPS will be inconsistent and it will feel like nothing special is gained this way, at least in the PC version. Don't want to sound very nitpicky, but not even playing in new visuals cannot guarantee a smooth 60 FPS experience. Here and there, small drops or stutters will occur, especially in outdoor levels such as Outer Giza levels. Finishing the game grants access to all of the costumes and, would you believe it, total absence of Von Croy interruption in the first level in the New Game Plus mode. At first, I thought I pressed something so he wouldn't want to talk to me, but I didn't. I guess this is done because if you play the game for the second time, it's assumed that you don't need the lectures. You know everything now. Maybe they should offer a skip of the level and run for Iris altogether? Anyway. What a thoughtful thing to do. Having these remasters marks the first time I get to play the exclusive level that I wasn't able to play before, and that is, the Times level. This was just a standalone level made to honor the 75th anniversary of Howard Carter's discovery of the pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb that was partially funded by the Times. Only available on PC without the requirement of The Last Revelation to run it. It was a niche thing to play. There was always an ongoing speculation amongst gamers as to where this level fit in the timeline. Given the circumstance of the Last Revelation ending, it was logical to accept the narrative that Time's level predates the main game. And that's it. No expansion this time. Nor do we get the expansion for Tomb Raider Chronicles since it doesn't exist. But nevertheless, let's talk about Chronicles. Naturally, Tomb Raider Chronicles also benefited greatly from these ramped-up visuals because wandering in the streets of Rome looks even more believable than before. Squint your eyes and look at the screen from 10 feet away, and you might think that you are watching some Stanley Tucci documentary about Italian cuisine 1,000 times. But this time, admiring these visuals is going to be such a treat. Look at this Colosseum sprite. It looks so good. It doesn't stop there. Check out this updated skybox complementing the windmill in the old mill level, or new details such as candles or skeletons in this chapel in the labyrinth. These levels were already oozing with the atmosphere, but now with better graphics they do it even more. I mean, it's unfair trying to pick just a few scenes while the entire game looks much better now. Developers were thinking about correcting inconsistencies such as Lara having a formal dress in the introductory movie while she was in her classic suit in the first level. This time we can notice that same dress hanging on the fence. However, there's no car in the fence to be seen. Now that would be cool to see. Totaled vehicle with Pierre and Larson unconsciously sitting inside the car. Just enough time for Lara to escape. Am I asking too much now? Maybe. Now when I'm talking about Larson and Pierre, since Chronicles deals with a number of various characters such as them, or Yarofev and Sergei, in-game cutscenes look rather good, because facial expressions are now much better fleshed out and thus, dialogues look more natural. I mean, just look how much improved Yarofev and Sergei's faces look in comparison, like night and day. However, look at Pierre. I mean, come on. He has no right to look this good. Larson is to be expected to look like that, but Pierre? Too good looking for someone so clumsy. Given the same treatment as TLR, you can also notice additional details in the levels that make the immersion that much better, such as these chains surrounding metal containers in the level The Base. Young Lara, although unfazed, can stumble upon a skeleton on the bench or inside a brick wall. It's interesting how well this fits into the atmosphere that you would think it was always there. But when you revert to old visuals, you just realize how barren everything was. Not that it's bad, just a product of the time. Even that horseman demon asshole looks menacing. Well, at least when he is not talking, which is 5% of the game. Naturally, the main concern about this game is the bug-infested last level called Red Alert. I haven't stumbled upon red lasers not moving at the very end of the game, so I believe this is fixed this time. However, I'm not sure about soft locking since weapons you carry have a finite amount of bullets. If you carelessly waste them all before reaching the first wannabe Terminator, I don't think it's possible to advance the level. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Generally speaking, the gameplay moveset has been pretty much identical in both games. For tank controls, that is. I'm still playing these with the old control scheme because I just can't get accustomed to modern controls for the life of me. If you can, then it's cool. That means everybody wins this round. I like that frontal somersault from higher crawl spaces is retrofitted in the last revelation. It makes traversing some places like the way between Alexandria and coastal ruins a bit faster. This is something that only Chronicles had originally. Of course, you better know that you'll land on a safe floor, or otherwise you'll have a bad time. It's already known, but there are new tweaks in the control scheme in the vein of continual run, after a slope slide, or several different ways of coming down to hang on the arms while approaching a ledge. You don't have to face away the edge and tap backwards an action button immediately to descend and grab the ledge by arm. These tweaks are not something that is crucial for anything special, but they are a nice little thoughtful feature to have. Even though, after decades of playing the games the old way, it's kinda difficult to tell my brain that I can approach the ledge without turning. Photo mode is also expanded with some new features such as more poses Lara can do and lots of costumes. There's also a cinematic part where we can place several cameras wherever we like to create a path for the camera to traverse. It's like making your own cinematic sequence like those the games have, like these ones. It's a cool thing to waste a couple of minutes on. Now, we are possibly getting to the main selling point of this remastered trilogy, and that is the infamous Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness. The problem child of this entire trilogy, or should I say, the hexalogy of the originals. This is either a redemption arc in the making or forever failure moment. There's not much happening in between. So what do you think? Waiting for me to do the dissection? Well, as usual, the answer itself is a little bit complicated. After 22 years of this game being held in something that I describe as a comatose state, only to be touched just by die-hard fans of New Metal Y2K Lara Croft, comes a promise of the potential happy end. A final, yet decent closure that would satisfy old fans and bring new ones. Something that this game so rightfully deserves. Did Aspire and Saber do the trick? Well, yes and no. Let's talk about positives first. First, and the obvious positive, is the ability to even start the game without tinkering with some obscure options first. Nice one. As soon as you start the first level, the biggest change is the restoration of the cut content. Turns out that this level called Parisian Backstreets is much bigger in scope than I had imagined. The castrated version of the level we got in the original is actually the short route that was designed for those who don't need a tutorial on how to play the game. Bigger, cut part of the level is an in-depth tutorial part that teaches us all Lara can do. Now that's promising. Some of the signposts and street names in the Parisian ghetto are reworked to make sense. I don't speak French, so I cannot confirm that myself, but judging by what I've read online, now the names are correct this time. While we are wandering in the streets of this ghetto, it's apparent that Herbalist Shop is now functional. The guy can actually sell things to you. Among the items you can shop is an antidote. Yes, the poisoning mechanic has been restored, and it will be shown as a green depleting health meter. So, running around the bio-research facility while exercising extreme caution is a must now. These stupid broccoli plants can be deadly. Rent Pawn Shop is also taken care of a little bit, so the trading can go both ways. Nice. Trademark dual guns action from the first 5 games is continued here, since now Lara can use 2 vector guns simultaneously. But bullets are not infinite. Oh well, at least part of the charm is restored. Curtis can use his wannabe shuriken called Chirugai, but the way he hops around while he uses the weapon is just... I don't know what to say. Better see it for yourself. Anyways, while we are on the subject of the gameplay, I've switched to the modern control scheme for this game, and I must say that modern controls make this game much more bearable to play. It's almost like you're playing a stiffer version of Tomb Raider Legend. You can use a dual analog scheme for movement and camera, but it's less refined. I admit it took me some time to get used to the controls, but after a level or two it became much easier. But even the modern controls couldn't solve the problem of impreciseness in general. What do I mean by that? For example, descending down these ledges in the Tomb of the Ancients requires precise jumps. Maybe it's me being dumb, but I couldn't control the trajectory of most of the jumps. In previous entries, Lara had a grid system of jumping, and that worked fine. But in the Angel of Darkness, she will sometimes perform a decent jump length, and sometimes she will jump too far, which will resort to falling to her death. To help myself, I aim for her to jump to the wall. This way she lands on the ledge regardless of her jump trajectory. But a little bit later I'll come across part of the level called Breath of the Hades. Now there's no walls and I need to jump on these moving poles. I don't even have to say how many times I've fallen down in the pit. The number is probably bigger than planet Earth's age multiplied by the year that dinosaurs got extinct. Eventually, I timed the jumps with decently spaced out poles. And then comes the Sanctuary of Flame with crumbling floating platforms. Yeah, you get the picture. But this is not a pretty picture. Overall, it's like despite having modern controls, there's still the problem with the execution of the movement animation. This kills the overall agility of Lara Croft, especially if you do ducking or crawl mechanics, or if you get into or out of stealth mode. That's the unwanted remnant of the tank controls, if you ask me. If you could somehow interrupt these animations according to the situations you have, you'd feel like you are really in control. Lara would feel so much more agile. The game would feel like Tomb Raider Legend or Anniversary. And also, if you could control the trajectory of the jumps like in every decent platformer of the era, this game would be so much better to play. That alone would salvage 90% of the experience. I didn't experience the bugs like flying enemies, but stealth is kinda broken. The guards in the Louvre Museum either can't see a damn thing, or they'll spot you from 10,000 miles away, behind a wall too. Stealth is not really my preferable choice of playing the game, but these instances just further cement my decision to stick to the guns. After all, there's no punishment or reward for preferring one playstyle over the other and vice versa. Now the visuals. Unlike the last Revelation and Chronicles, where you can obviously see the jump in the visual quality, the Angel of Darkness is a bit disappointing here. 99% of the textures are almost intact. Sometimes only shadows and color accents change places and that's it. Okay, texts on the various surfaces are sharper and some of the NPC faces are changed, but that's it. Too bad, because with properly remastered graphics, this game could look 10 years younger. Like a late PS3 game, which wouldn't be bad at all. Overall, the Angel of Darkness still feels unrefined, which is a total shame. I totally wouldn't mind it being released a year from now if that would mean polishing everything that needs to be polished. This way, despite some efforts to rework the game in the way it's meant to be done, it still feels like an unfinished product. Ironically, rushed release is something that killed the original The Angel of Darkness, and now we are experiencing essentially the same thing, even though this time it's far from being bad. Still, it's evident that this game needs more work and more time to be what it needs to be. Last year, we got the remasters of the first 3 remastered Tomb Raider games. And not only that, we got all of the expansions too. And of course, these were 3 games that defined the name Tomb Raider. So, to have 3 games packed together with their respective expansions, souped up visuals, additional control scheme and all that for a decent price was an instant buy. Such a no-brainer. The remasters of the second trilogy were supposed to carry on with the tradition. However, this time it's like we are getting 80% of the experience we desired. The last Revelation and Chronicles are great, but the Angel of Darkness not so much. Like I said, the game whose appearance could single-handedly carry this trilogy fell out of the track in the last lap of the race. Everybody was surprised at first, me included, when it was announced that we are going to get the Angel of Darkness in a remastered form. We didn't expect that. It was natural that at least half of the population interested in this remastered trilogy would buy it, because they can't wait to try to play the Angel of Darkness. For many of the players, this was their first playthrough, and they received an incomplete restoration project. So, can you play the Angel of Darkness then? Yes, you can. Can you successfully finish it? Yes, you can. Will it take some time because of the atrocious controls? Yes. The game desperately requires some fixes and additional polish. Those who played it already want a patch, so there you go. But despite all of the cons, this Tomb Raider 4 to 6 remaster is still a must-buy. It's the definitive way to play these games. Wonder if the LAU trilogy is next in line.